Hey, gang, it's Bob Smith, your host for the Outdated Wrestling Hour. I'm watching WrestleMania, and this time we're going to actually go down the WrestleMania results and my thoughts on what happened in the card. And I was thinking, what would have happened if that great legendary 50s and 60s announcer, Friendly Bob, was the ring announcer for the show? I wonder what it would have sounded like. Hello, wrestling fandom. Welcome to Sophie's Stadium for the main event of the evening. One fall to a finish. Introducing from Samoan, weighing 245 libs, Romano Regions. His opponent, son of the legendary Americana Dreamboat, Cody Rhodes. Welcome to the big dated wrestling horn. Yeah, baby, top 5, here we come, right? This'll get the kids. A Friendly Bob Freed parody right before WrestleMania roundup. Hey, we're heading right for the top, aren't we? Who cares? Hey, everybody, this is Bob Smith, formerly with Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and now with the Outdated Wrestling Hour. And this is a special edition. We're going to do a little bit of a look at WrestleMania this past weekend. We're rush releasing this one out into the wild. See how the things go with everything. And a lot of things are going on. We're going to have a regular edition this coming Friday, as we always do, with a special guest. Mike Leotis is going to rejoin us from Wrestler Weekly. They got some big things going on. A new book is coming out, and lots of excitement over there. But also, we have a lot of guests in the coming weeks, a lot of fun in store. And we hope you stick with us and stick around for all of what's going on. I might as well get right to it. Like everyone else, I sat at home and got my Peacock subscription. The only reason I subscribed to Peacock, to be honest with you, 2 reasons. Number one, the old Joe McHugh era clips on the WWE section there. And also the fact that I got to come on in the mail for $23 for a year subscription. I couldn't turn it down. So I figured, what the heck? Let's go back to Peacock. This way I'll see all the pay-per-views. And I got to tell you, WWE knows how to put on a show, a lavish extravaganza unlike anything anybody's ever seen. And it's constantly changing, and the production values are absolutely superb. Even though you have to sit through things like a song with The Miz and Maurice, a lot of Miz throughout the weekend. We could have done without that, right? But in any event, it was actually a pretty good show for the 2 days. Unbelievable. Drew estimated over 160,000 people. I take those attendance figures with a grain of salt. And this all happened on the same weekend where it was announced that UFC and WWE are merging, or one bought the other or something. We'll see the facts. As I sit here on a Monday, I haven't gotten all the facts on that yet, but we'll see how that goes. A lot of interesting things going on. And ladies and gentlemen, Vince McMahon has a mustache. This got more publicity, I think, than all of his recent troubles. That he's running around with a mustache and suddenly dark brown hair without a flick of gray in it. I don't know how these wonderful millionaires stay so young, do you? But in any event, let's get to the wrestling, because that's why we're here. We're going to obviously do our usual juxtaposition of new versus old. So it's day one, it's Saturday, and the opening match is John Cena versus the United States champion Austin Theory. And, I like the way Theory came across in this match. I saw a lot of criticism of it, but, He's biting. He's desperate. He's willing to do anything to win a match. He kind of reminds me of a new age Buddy Rogers, all braggadocio, just full of himself to the nth degree. That ain't bad. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You dislike him from the moment he walks into a room. That's the whole idea, isn't it? But I got to tell you, in this match particularly, I thought John Cena looks done. Nothing wrong with that. He's had his wrestling career, and he only appears for special events like this one. But he looked tired. He looked, older, of course. And at one point, he kind of smirked before doing the five-knuckle thing, like, I can barely do this anymore. He had that look on his face. And he did not win the match. He was still beaten. But I think he had a look on his face throughout, like, I can't believe I'm still here. They're still booking me. He just doesn't have the snap that classic John Cena did. I'm not putting him down for that either. This was not a terrible match. I thought it was okay. But it was a decent enough way to start things off. And, of course, everybody loves John Cena. Got a huge pop, Make-A-Wish kids, the whole 9 yards. Not bad at all. And the second match, of course, was the tag team women's champions at this point, which are Lita and Becky Lynch, along with Trish Stratus against Damage Control, and they whipped them. And I'm kind of hoping that puts an end to this whole feud and everything, because it never really went anywhere. And, there are other talents that they should be exploiting at this point. If this was a burn-off, I think that's fine. It's absolutely fine. I found it kind of remarkable how in their primes that both Lita and Trish Stratus still looked. I mean, they really looked like they hadn't left even 6 months. They look pretty good. And they looked pretty good, if you know what I mean. So let's hear it for the ladies. The women's division in the WWE is the crown jewel of professional wrestling right now. From top to bottom, soup to nuts, they have more talent than I can hardly imagine. And as I noted on an earlier show, the advent of WWE women's wrestling is the healthiest thing to happen in pro wrestling in 30 years. They're that good. They're equal to the men's wrestling, and they should be. Then we have the men's showcase. It was Braun Strowman and Ricochet, as well as the Street Profits, the Alpha Academy, and the Viking Raiders in a 4-team tag team match. The Viking Raiders, the conquistadors of the 2020s, with their community college theater outfits, and just the whole thing just doesn't work, hasn't worked, won't work. I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with them, but the whole gimmick is just unseemly. It's 2023. It ain't gonna fly. But how likable is the tag team of Braun Strowman and Ricochet? Two diametric opposites that somehow work well together. They're like Reese's candy bar. The chocolate and the peanut butter work. Well, so does the strongman and the high flyer. They're just great together. And the Street Profits, nobody talks about them. How good are they? Montez Ford and Angela Dawkins, they're both terrific, and they may be the best tag team in wrestling right now. All I know is they put up enough spots every match that they do. It's like phenomenal. The high-flying Montez Ford, he's a phenomenon in and of himself. For a minute, I thought they were going to push him as a solo star. They don't really need to. But this tag team is going to be legendary before it's all done. Pretty good match, considering it's kind of a throwaway. They had to get a lot of their roster into WrestleMania, and this was a way to do it. Fine. I have no problem with it. It was a pretty decent match. Better than I thought. What can I say? One of the greatest women's matches of all time. Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Rhea, of course, is the new WWE World Women's Champion. She's phenomenal. She's phenomenal. And this match was phenomenal. I was afraid that Charlotte broke her nose at one point when her face hit the mat after an unbelievable German suplex. They just went at it and at it and at it, sweating and teeth gnashing and just going at each other like they're going out of style. A fantastic, hard-hitting match. I've heard criticism. Oh, they have the women working too hard. They're working too stiff. I don't think so. Both of these athletes can do this type of thing, I think. And they were so evenly matched, and it was so wonderful. To me, this is a tie for the match of the weekend. The three-way intercontinental match the next night, I think, tied it in my mind's eye. But I have nothing to complain about Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, who is now a major superstar and deserves. She has a unique charisma, tremendous talent, strength, beauty, you name it. She's got it all. Not that the beauty means anything in pro wrestling, but it's just refreshing to see an entirely original look and feel to a wrestler like she has. Finally blossom and finally break through with a major championship. Well done, Rhea Ripley, absolutely. So then we had Rollins versus Logan Paul. It's a better match than I expected, but I'm the purist in the room. And I don't think Logan Paul should be wrestling. So I really wasn't into this. You know, these interlopers, the Bad Bunnies, the Logan Pauls, the football players, just keep going down the list. They seem to feel a need. You know, Snoop got involved in day 2. We'll talk about that in a little while. So I don't know. It's not for me. I just don't get caught into this type of thing. But I'm the fuddy-duddy in the room. You know, they wouldn't have allowed this back in the day. All I know is I haven't had much of a taste for bringing football players and the like into wrestling since the 60s, when there was an actual feud between football star Alex Karras and Dick the Bruiser. And that worked like gangbusters because they were two rough, tough guys that looked like rough, tough guys. And it was a multi-sport feud that worked really well. That's an exception to this rule. I just don't cotton to people from other sports getting involved with this, especially if they don't look like wrestlers. Logan Paul looks like a disc jockey. It just doesn't work for me. I got no use for it. Means nothing in the long run. He's not going to be a championship contender for anybody or anything like that. So the heck with it. Speaking of stuff we didn't need, Pat McAfee versus The Miz. Bathroom break, right? Just bathroom break. Who cared? You know. But we did have a main event that was pretty special to a lot of people, and it was over like crazy. And it was, of course, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens beating the Usos for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships, as they like to say. You ever notice all the ring announcers start to sound like Lillian Garcia? They're not trying to sound like Gordon Solie. All the ring announcers, male or female, use the same inflection and tone as Lillian Garcia. I'm sure they're being instructed to do that. Plus, can you name the ring announcers anymore? I can't. Remember when you knew who they were? They had names. Joe BQ. You know, Lillian Garcia. Gary Michael Capetta. You know, all of them. They don't seem to even have names anymore. But with all the drama in the preceding weeks building the feud, I was left cold by the build. This match was great, don't get me wrong. But I was left cold by the build. You know, is he an Uso or is he not? Is he a member of the Bloodline? Is he not? Is Jay leaving the Bloodline? No, he stayed in the Bloodline. You know, they went through all this rigmarole for about a month and a half, only to have everybody end up where you would pretty much expect them to be. Added the drama to the event. Worked for a lot of people. I thought it was overdone, overlong. Not spectacular, but you know what? The match was really good. Kevin Owens is a really good worker. You know, both him and Zayn have overcome the traditional wrestler thing. You know, I mean, Zayn is not a big guy. Kevin is not a muscle man, and yet he's big enough to make it all work. In a way, you can compare him to Mick Foley. And they were probably a little underrated coming up, but now they're superstars of the First Order and deserve to be that way. So the first night of WrestleMania, I actually give it an A. The old curmudgeon gives it an A. Yeah, he gives it an A. Rhea Charlotte, come on. That's a match I'll never forget. I will never forget that wrestling match. I thought it was spectacular. It was superb. It was absolutely an incredible feast for the senses, and it was realistic, hard-hitting, and everything I wanted in a wrestling match. So, of course, we go into night 2 with high expectations, but were they fulfilled? So back to SoFi Stadium we go, back to The Miz and his wife doing their musical routine in the pregame. By the way, do you ever watch the pre-shows? You're not missing anything. 2 hour preview for wrestling matches. Really? And who are these people? Anyway, okay. Brock Lesnar versus Omos, a plotting big man match where for the first time, well, actually, no, it wasn't the first time. Brock Lesnar completely blown up at the end of this match. And he took the Duke, and I didn't think he was going to do it. They were building Omos as if he was untouchable in the weeks leading up to this. It was a very good build with MVP involved and everything else. It takes the heat off Omos, who has the charisma of a plastic spoon. Very big spoon, but a plastic spoon nonetheless. Passing grade. If you like power matches, this was fine. Now we go to the women's WrestleMania showcase match, as they called the one with the men the previous day. We had 4 women's teams: Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya and Shotzi, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. And why is Chelsea Green in the WWE? But that's, along with Sonya Deville. And in the end, Rousey barely got in the ring, armbar Shotzi. It was all over. She kind of laughed at everybody and just took over, and the crowd hates her for that. And I still think she's the most effective female athlete I've ever seen in this regard. And yet they seem to have really superly devalued her the last 6 months by making her part of a tag team. Don't quite get it. But I think they have something brewing for her, obviously, because she just walked in and dominated. So look for a lot of Ronda Rousey in the weeks ahead. So here's the match that tied Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. The triple threat for the Intercontinental title, despite the shrieking over-the-top trio of announcers for this particular event. We had Titus and Corey Graves and, just yelling at the top of their lungs the entire time. Michael Cole, calm down, will you? Just have a chill pill. Does everything have to be the biggest, the best, the most? I've never seen it before, all this stuff, But anyway, you had Gunther taking on Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, and they literally beat each other up for the entire length of the match. Chops and punches and power moves and over and over. It was nonstop, near finishes. Great. Yes, Gunther, or I'm just going to call him Gunther because that's how it's spelled. Gunther is great. He's like a cross between, Baron Cicluna and actually that's the closest I could come. This sneering person who doesn't say a lot, but he's still athletically superior and knows it and is going to go in and dominate. And the fact that he won this, I find most pleasing. I really think that we're going to take it off of him and as a way to keep the Sheamus Drew McIntyre feud going. But you know what? Gunther deserves to be the Intercontinental Champion. He's a unique talent, a unique look. Everything about that act is unique. Imperium, not bad. It's not so over the top that it doesn't seem believable. So let's hear it for them. And then it just kept rolling with greatness. Bianca Belair versus Asuka. Asuka is just so good, and so is Bianca. And together they were magic. This was a really, really fine match. A lot of wrestling. I mean, think of this, a lot of wrestling, and it was over between 2 women, nonetheless. Holds after hold after hold after maneuver. It was more scientific than I thought it was going to be. I loved this match. It was, at this point I'm thinking WrestleMania, this may be the best WrestleMania of all time. It was heading that way until we got to see, Snoop Dogg do a Dusty Rhodes elbow on the Miz because Shane O'Mac blew his leg out upon his entrance. This was so bad. And I'm reading all over the interwebs today. Oh, it saved the show. It was the greatest thing in the show was Snoop Dogg's elbow drop. Why? Watching him bound off the ropes like an old man. How is this wrestling? Yes, I'm the curmudgeon in the room, and I don't care. I certainly wouldn't pay to see something like that. So, and I also wouldn't pay to watch Edge versus the Demon Finn Balor. I don't get Finn Balor. I don't understand why he's over. I don't know what he's ever accomplished. It just doesn't work for me. And this demon character is, I guess, with Bray Wyatt out of the picture at the moment, they needed something Bray Wyatt-ish. So they just let them play dress up. And, I guess Finn got actually cut and they wouldn't even show it on a pay-per-view. Did you notice that, how they cut away from it? So he must have been bleeding pretty bad. And he either got stitched up or closed up in the ring, which is pretty surprising. But I guess the Edge won it. That was my go get a ham sandwich moment. I'm sorry. These cartoon matches don't do it for me. When things get that crazy and that out of context, and it all starts to look like a giant cartoon, I'm out of the room. It's just not for me. But here's what everyone's talking about today. Title holder Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. And ladies and gentlemen, Roman Reigns is the new Ed Farhat. They ain't going to stop doing this, are they? Every match outside interference, over and over and over. And yet you got Michael Cole on the mic proclaiming Reigns as one of the greatest champions of all time. How can you figure that? He's the honky-tonk man. Outside interference in virtually every match, other chicanery, people running around the ring constantly. You remember, Peggy Sue and all that stuff with the honky-tonk man, right? You probably don't, but in any event, how can Reigns be considered one of the greatest of all time? Now, I'm not taking anything away from Roman Reigns, the athlete. He is a fine wrestler. He looks fantastic. He's everything you'd want a champion to be, with the exception of here come the Usos or here comes Solo. Interference. A lot of people were braced and ready to see Cody Rhodes take the championship. They built up to this for over a year. And people are really disappointed, and some are pretty angry on social media as we speak. I'm not quite there yet on this topic. I just think it's the same thing over and over. They should learn from what the Sheik did to Toronto and Detroit back in the 70s. I know it's a totally different thing, but he kept offering the same thing over and over and over again. His short, quick, throw a fireball, you can't beat the Sheik routine. Well, if you can't beat Roman Reigns because of constant outside interference, how's that any different? So Ed Farhat, we hardly knew you. WWE is doing the same thing with Roman Reigns. I don't know how much longer they can perpetuate this. I really don't. Because you know what? I think it's stale. I think the bloodline is stale. I think it's reached its apex, but they're going to keep shoving it down our throats. Like Mr. Sacco. So at any event, I give the entire WrestleMania a B. Based on the main event for Reigns versus Rhodes. I found it to be a little deflating. And you know what? Remember when they panned at the end and they saw the upset faces of the crowd? That wasn't because Cody didn't win. It's because they realized they're going to see the same thing over and over again. It's been done, guys. There's nothing creative. A ref bump, a ref bump. Doesn't seem like every title match in the WWE is a ref bump. Dusty Rhodes lives, I guess, because that was like a dusty finish. So those are my 2 cents on WrestleMania. Yes, I still watch current wrestling. I can't avoid it. Are you kidding? Wrestling is something I've loved my whole life. I'm not going to give it up entirely. I know people who have. I know fellow wrestling scribes who gave it up, when it got crazy. I understand that. But as for me, I'm still the kid. Scheme to get tickets, go to the armories and the high school gyms to see wrestling from my small town. And I loved every minute of it. And I miss those days. And I still get that feeling sometimes. I don't know how you all feel, but things have changed a lot. And it was a beautiful package, WrestleMania was. And now we find out there's the merger or the sale to, UFC. I hope it all goes well. I wish everybody well. I want all the scandals to go away, all the nonsense to go away, and bring the fans what they need, which is enjoyable professional wrestling. That's something that got us through a lot when we were kids, and it was nice to spend 8 hours over 2 days and get lost in the whole thing. Okay, that's the meat of this special edition, and this is going to be a special edition for a second reason. We're going to sign off like we always do. And then I'm going to give an editorial that has nothing to do with wrestling. It's got to do with our sponsor, who I have just lost. I don't care about that. But you'll find out why we lost the sponsor. And it's kind of a sad story. It's a community thing with me. And It's a friendship thing, and it's a advocation thing, you name it. I had a very jarring week this past week, and I'll explain why in the little bitty editorial that I give after we sign off here. Very heartfelt. It has nothing to do with wrestling. So what I'll do is sign off. If you don't care about any of that stuff, log off. Go to another app. Go to a different podcast or something. But I feel like getting something off my chest, and I'll explain why we no longer have our advertiser, our first local advertiser, which is pretty unique for a podcast. But strange days around here. But it's a tale of loss. So hang around for that. In any event, you know how to find us. We're at outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. Our website is outdatedwrestling.buzzsprout.com, and you can listen to the show there. On Twitter, I'm Bob Smith NYC. And Facebook, I'm Robert Smith. Our opening and closing theme remains Boogie Party by Kevin MacLeod. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. I want to thank Friendly Bob for appearing on the show today. And, we're going to have a lot of our favorites are going to be back soon. We're going to have Craig Peters back. We're going to have Brian R. Solomon will guest on our show. We're going to have Mike Leardis back on Friday. We're going to have a lot of things that I hope you enjoy. So let's sign off and an editorial from me. All right, I let the cat out of the bag, and you notice there was no ad for Herrill Lanes on this week's show, and there will never be an ad for Herrill Lanes again because Herrill Lanes is no more. The news got out early last week that the place I bowled at for 18 years was purchased by another bowling alley company, as it were. Now, first off, I just want to say there are no good guys and no bad guys in this story, but there's people involved. Some really good people. Some really fine folks, and some friends. And I don't know about you, but I can't have enough friends, And when you have a few of them, you wonder what happens when you get separated. And this may happen now because of the sale of Herrill Lanes to another bowling alley company, it's a fine company. It's called Bowl 360, and they're going to rename the place Bowl 360 Hyde Park. And best of luck to them. I'm going to continue to bowl there through the end of the season at least. But the problem was that when the sale went down, some people lost their jobs. We're afraid of what's going to happen to our existing leagues. This is nobody's fault. I'm not vilifying anybody here, okay? I can't do that. I wouldn't do that. But last week I'm bowling with my usual Wednesday night crew, and I'm looking around, and there's a lot of people I genuinely care for that both work there and that I compete against and with. And I'm going to miss it like crazy. It really hurts. I think it was the abruptness of everything that happened. Like at the beginning of the week, we didn't know the place was going to be sold. And by the end of the week, new staff was coming in and everything was changing very, very quickly. Again, that's business. That's life. The only thing that's constant in life that you can count on really is change. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's not so great. In any event, I want the people of Herrill Lanes, particularly manager Joe Fink, to know how much I appreciated the ad that we got, how much I appreciated the fun that I've had there for almost 2 decades, and how much I really care for the people around me there. I really do. I'm hoping that this isn't the beginning of frayed relationships and missing some folks that I really care about, because I really do. I really do. I just needed to vent. I needed to get it off my chest. And I want to know publicly that I loved Herrill Lanes. I'm going to miss it greatly. Even if I'm bowling at the new center, the memories that I made there are going to last a lifetime. it's something I needed when I started to get back into bowling around 2008 or so. And I needed the exercise, but I didn't expect the camaraderie, the friendship, and the love that I encountered. They were my friends. I'm going to miss you guys a whole bunch. Thanks for listening, everybody. This is the Outdated Wrestling Hour. Thanks for abiding my little editorial here. We'll see you Friday, and I promise all wrestling. See you then. I couldn't figure out a way to salute Herrill Lanes. How about a 10-strike salute? Okay, guys, this is for you.